Hello, salespersons of all makes, models, and brands. My name is Chance, and welcome to another episode of our prospecting methods over here at the Sales Bible. Today we're going to be taking a look at the hidden art of fleet acquisitions. This particular prospecting method can have a massive bang for your buck in terms of the volume of vehicles you are getting out on a month-to-month basis. The price point is also potentially $0, but if you want to go the extra mile, you can expect to spend about $20 on this prospecting method. Even with that $20, you will probably not need to spend money after that for quite some time, and I'll get into why that is in a little bit here. The time commitment, at least in terms of the setup, is going to be about 30 minutes, and in terms of the daily time you're going to want to allot for this, it'll be about an hour. It'll get progressively shorter as you go through the process for the long term, but to start out, it's safe to expect to be around there. Now let's take a look at the general premise of this prospecting method. What is it? So fleet acquisitions is essentially you go on business to business and asking to provide vehicles for their company. This is really popular among taxi services, but depending on your make and how your fleet programs work, there's a chance that smaller businesses will also be included in this, and even government officials. So be well aware of what exactly your fleet program entails so you know exactly who to target. Now, let's get into some advantages and disadvantages really quick here. One of the biggest advantages to this particular method of prospecting is repeat business. The vast majority of these people will lease vehicles, and the vast majority will do so for the short term. So it's really important to keep in touch with them because they're going to need to get vehicles from you every X number of years. Another great benefit to this particular method of prospecting is it often results in a large volume of purchases. The highest I've ever personally seen is 15 cars, but typically they're usually between the 5 to 10 range. I have heard stories as high as 20, but that's really the highest I've ever heard of from a reliable source. This next advantage is a little weird because it's one we haven't talked about on this channel yet, and it's the idea of internal leverage. You see, if you do this process right, and if you document these people's information in a way that you can access it essentially wirelessly or through a cloud-based computing system, this is leverage that you have over the internal policies at your dealership. This is where you can really start to negotiate your payment scales, you can negotiate your position a little bit better. This is how you really get ahead in the industry. By that same token, it will also help increase your standing in the eyes of your management team. They'll look at you as a guy that gets results that no one else has even thought of getting at this point, which is, needless to say, incredibly beneficial for you. That being said, there are some disadvantages that come with this method of prospecting. The first is that it is a highly competitive market. Any salesperson would love to have these people as customers, so you have to be damn good at making sure they want to do business with you and only you. Another disadvantage is there are incredibly low profit margins. Ideally, you use this to guarantee your units for the year, but you still sell to individual consumers in terms of how to make gross and keep your paychecks nice and high. And thirdly, it can lead to some heat with other salespeople. This is especially true if you have your numbers publicly accessible on a board in the manager's office, for example. A lot of salespeople have a hard time seeing that you have X number of car deals out only through one transaction. To be honest, they're just jealous and they think it's unfair, but ultimately, the way dealerships are set up in an ideal case is everyone has access to the same tools, so it's just strictly jealousy, really. Now, how do you do it? So this is my process. Bear in mind, yours might be a little bit different. Your company policy might have a different approach, but this is the way I find it to be most effective. The first thing I do is I type up a quick email that just basically says, hey, business name team. So, hey, enterprise team, for example. My name is Chance. I've recently acquired the fleet manager position at XYZ dealership. I'd like to let you know that you're within our service area and we'd be able to work some great deals for you. I'd love to hear more about yourself and your company. Please feel free to reach out to me at, and then the contact information. Usually something along those lines. At a future date, I might end up uploading the one that I use on a regular basis, just so you can see an example. Let me know down beneath if that's something you might be interested in, actually. And then step 2 is I actually go and I drop off, so I print off that email in a nice letterhead format, and I actually drop it off at the office. This is also where that price kind of comes in. What I do is I actually buy cardstock paper. It's nice, it's thick paper. I like the way the ink takes to it. It's like $20 for a pack of 200, and that should be more than enough to canvas the area. So that's kind of where I spend my money on here, but you don't have to do that, not necessarily. And your company might actually have access to this kind of paper anyways, so just ask. And so I walk in there with that piece of paper. I look good, it looks good, life's good. I walk to the lady or gentleman at the front desk and I ask, hello, can I speak with your manager? And everyone I've done this to has said, of course, right away. They very rarely ask who I am. If they do, I just say, I'm a fleet manager. I just have this letterhead to drop off to them. And they usually wave me through no problem. And then when I meet their manager or the boss man, I say, nice to meet you. My name's Chance. And then usually you are. And then I say, great, Steve. I recently took over the fleet manager position at XYZ dealership. I just wanted to come in and introduce myself and hand off this letter to a couple of the local businesses. And they say, thank you so much, Chance. And then after that, what you do is you give them a call in about 3 days and you book an appointment with them. It's pretty neat, it's pretty clean, and to be honest, it's probably the best way to go about this. Needless to say, everyone's going to have their own different methods, their own different strategies, and your managers are all going to have their own unique input. But I find this approach, at least in a general sense, is the easiest way to go about it. So now let's get into some tips here. Tip number 1, as always, be polite, be kind, have a nice smile on your face, and be presentable. Tip 2, do a little bit of research into the companies before you walk in the door. Just understand their market, understand the gist of what they do, and be able to talk your way into kind of a businessy kind of conversation with them if you have to, just to show competency on your end. Another great tip is to actually just search based on proximity. This will generate a nice list of companies for you to pick from. You can refine your search as needed, but just make sure they're local. There's no sense driving halfway across the city if there's another dealership of identical make and model right by there. It just doesn't make a lot of sense, so typically you're going to want to stay local. Now, let's get into some ways to change up your approach a little bit. You can use swag to a degree. I wouldn't go too trigger happy with it. If you want to drop off some pens for them or something, that's fine. Lanyards for them, that's fine too. Just keep it cheap, keep it kind of simple. No need to go all out on all these people, right? Also, do your best to bring a clipboard with you. I love clipboards. I like the way they look. If you get a nicer one, they're very clean looking and it just comes across as very professional. And then the third way to change your approach will be to implement videos into your emails. I'm a huge fan of this. If you can't tell, I like this particular method of animation, so I use it a lot in my videos for customers. I'll also put my face in there. If you want an example on one of those, let me know in the comments beneath as well, and I'll see what I can do for you guys. That being said, if you have any tips, tricks, word tricks, or other ways to change up your approach, let me know down beneath in the comment section. Also know what your experience have been with fleet deals, whether or not you like them, whether or not you don't like them. Let me know down beneath. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys all have a great day, and as always, happy selling, everyone.